Hello, good morning, good evening, good afternoon to all my blessed beloveds out there in living and thriving land. You're watching Living and Thriving with Rusty. So weird for me to say that after all these years of you're listening to. Anyway, I just got out of physical therapy, so I look a little disheveled. The good news is today is probably the first day I have not been in severe pain. It actually turns out that it's not my knee. It's actually my vertebrae. My vertebrae are twisting, causing what's called ghost pains, and that is what's been affecting my knee. She did say I'm not allowed to run yet, so I'm not quite there with strength, but that is optimistic coming towards our winter here in Florida. The best running ever, mountains or river, or winter in Florida. Beautiful. I'm super excited about our guest today, and it looks like he's tuning in. How are you?
How you doing?
Oh, I can hear you. Good. So who are you? What do you do? And what makes you you? If I remember correctly, you have an interesting story that I normally wouldn't have on, except there's a caveat.
First, my name is Aime Mukendi Jr., aka Sir Amazing, and before anything else, I'm a human being. But I am a best-selling author. I'm an entrepreneur, and essentially, I'm someone who tries to help people evoke the greatness that lies within. Um, I guess my unique story depends on which point you want to look into.
Well, first of all, you get a huge hug and high five for the I Vote shirt. I can't see the rest of it, but damn, yes. Yes, 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 God. And you're a lot younger than me, so it just makes my oldness very happy to see. And hopefully you really do show up. Like a lot of people just wear the shirts, and we need votes so bad right now. So bad.
I can honestly say that I voted today.
Yay! What state are you
Yeah.
in?
So I've relocated to Atlanta, but I'm originally from Buffalo, and I'm in town for a short stay.
Perfect.
And yeah, so I went and
Thank
did
God for
that
early
earlier today.
voting, man. We need it bad this year. So,
And
big
I've
hug.
tried to spread the word as much as possible and let people know, like, yeah, they're open till 5 p.m. You can
Yep.
go right in the office in person, get your ballot done. I'm 27 right now. These next 4 years are going to be very important for someone like myself. So, um, yeah, trying to be active.
Yeah, big time, especially with the climate and all the changes. But we'll get to all that fun stuff. I'm just really proud of the shirt. My inner mother says I approve.
Thank you.
I actually went to volunteer to do our polls here in Florida, and I guess it's actually a paid position, and you have to interview and stuff. I'm going, shoot, I'm doing it for free. I'll stand out there with a sign, vote now. I got a frying pan. You gonna vote?
Now, Florida is an important state, especially. So,
Yeah, it's kind of a
understand
scary time
a little
we're
bit.
in. So you, I'm trying to remember specifically, but you did something remarkable because normally I don't have salespeople on, I don't have sports, I don't really do a lot in politics. And I'm thinking you're sports, right? Was that you?
I, I am not an athlete.
Okay, so you're the sales guy.
I, maybe I wouldn't consider myself sales.
So tell us
I'm
what
really
you do.
I'm an accountability coach. So I just wrapped up a session, mental CPR with Sir Amazing, and just going through with different business owners, entrepreneurs, and just expanding networks, and ultimately just going through some simple principles and blueprints that we all can start to implement to really unlock the greatest version of ourselves and take care of ourselves. Because a lot of times, like most of the people are like, oh, we do it for this group, or we do it for these people, or legacy to help. But oftentimes, I know something that I struggle with, we don't take the time to not be super hard on ourselves and take care of ourselves so that we can then help others.
You're a little bit younger than I am, and I will tell you that I have a very hard time as a single mom and an entrepreneur finding that time. And like I said at the beginning, I've had some knee problems, so I've stopped running, which was kind of my outlet. And it turns out that it's actually my vertebrae that are moving, causing this ghost pain, making me feel like my knee's gonna break. It's very painful. I'm not allowed to run yet, but I'm getting closer. But part of that's self-care. Between standing for long hours, as you know, or sitting for a lot of hours, as you know, that's what we do as coaches. That's what we do as, entrepreneurs. What are the kinds of self-help things that you could teach an old dog like me to do better so I don't have these stupid ghost pains and I can run again?
First thing I'm gonna say is we're not gonna use the term old. We're gonna use the term experienced
I'm
or
seasoned.
or seasoned, one or the other. And then, I like seasoning, so that's a good thing. So, so that's first thing. But it's interesting when it comes to the body. Like I know for myself, when gyms are open for the most part in Georgia. So when I go in the morning, for me, what works is I get up between 5 and 6:30. I go straight to the sauna, and I sit in the sauna for at least. I try to get in there for at least 10 minutes. Sometimes, some days I can stay in there for 20, and that's just a time to really meditate. Like for me, that's meditation. Whether I'm listening to a motivational word or some music, that's really a time to really get the mind right for the day. And then I like to go and shoot. I'm not an athlete, but I like to shoot basketball. Like when I was a kid, I remember being 9, 10 years old during the summer. I would get up, I'll be with my cousins and my grandmother. Everybody's sleeping except for me and my grandma. My grandma's up, she's drinking coffee at the house, and I'm down the street shooting on a basketball hoop by myself. It's real tranquil. So I think the biggest thing is whatever that tranquility is. And if you can't necessarily run, maybe that means you skip. Maybe that means you walk, but do something, keep your body still within that pattern and that motion because it does something for you. I think we all can attest to the fact that even on bad days at the gym or bad days doing some type of workout, we mentally and just the whole body, we feel better. We just feel better with that day. So based off what you share with me, that's what I would recommend for you is don't stop. Still do it in some capacity. Maybe you can't run as quick as you would like, but maybe it's just taking that walk. And maybe you're in Florida, so maybe it's taking a walk to a lake or some type of water or some type of nature where you can just go. That was another thing I was doing when COVID first started. I would ride a bike, and I ride a bike to a park around the corner, and I would just sit and look at the sun and the water and just take that in. And there's so many different things that have happened in our world, so many things we can be feeling bad about, upset, frustrated, but there's always beauty. There's always a silver lining, for lack of better terms, in these gray clouds. And that's what I've learned, and I'm consistently learning to shift my mind towards that silver lining, excuse me.
So what caused, ooh, I echoed. What caused your inclination or your desire to be an empowerment coach or a motivational coach? You're kind of young, so what triggered that desire to help other people and encourage other people to be the best version of them?
Honestly, I've always been a speaker. When I really looked at, it's been about a year since I directed my mind towards that path, but when I really looked at my childhood, when I was 4 years old, I'm at my grandfather's scholarship event. He gave out scholarships at Howard University for students with disabilities because my grandfather has MS. And in the middle of him addressing the crowd, I walk up to him, rip the mic out of his hand and sing, "I Believe I Can Fly." And that was the first time I ever spoke in front of crowds. But then that translated to when I was in elementary school, I was giving like dare speeches. When I was in middle school, I was doing declamation contests. My undergrad is in broadcast journalism. So I won the Bob Cooper Award for Broadcasting Excellence, the highest award I can win for that. High school graduation speech, the running up college graduation speech. So I've always been speaking. And so that was always a part of it. That was always a skill that people said that I had and they just gave me. But then I had a pretty troubling experience last year. I was in a long-term relationship, and I talk about this to open up my book. And essentially what occurred was I was in a situation that I should have not been a part of, but I ended up being in the middle of the street with a bunch of people watching me after I beat somebody up, with a gun to my head. The man pulls the trigger, and I'm still here. So in all that, with all that happening, and I don't really remember much, I remember seeing red. I just know when I was sitting in the house afterwards, cops came in the house and said there were 2 bullets in that gun. So what that taught me is that, 1, I'm here for a reason. 2, make sure that I make the most of my time while I'm here.
Amen.
And most people, especially those that look like me, get into a situation like that, whether it be ego, whether it be whatever caused it, whatever the root was, we don't always make it out. And that's something that really just shifted my entire mindset. And it's really led to my approach from then on.
Do you think that you had enough resources as a child not to be in a situation like that?
Ooh.
I know it's tough because I'm from the projects, and I was in situations like that too. And you think that you're smart and you take the wrong turn. But I'm just wondering, because you're a dude and I'm a chick, like we have harder times, especially in our teens, because we're kind of prey. And I don't know the perspective of a guy in those situations. Like, you know, is it a tough guy kind of thing? Or like for us, we just get dragged into stupid shit.
It's interesting that you asked that question. I love it. To be honest, this is a connection that I made last month. I was doing a men's healing group, and there was a bunch of men telling their stories. And it never really clicked for me that I remember being 5 or 6 years old. I grew up in a single parent home with my mom, 5 or 6 years old. I was very small. I was an aggressive kid. Even though I would speak, I could like dance and sing and stuff, I was an aggressive. And I had a really close family friend. It's like a big cousin to me. He was real aggressive and rough. And he would really be beating me up. And I remember my mom just like, no, he needs to fight. He's a boy. He needs to learn how to fight. And then how I connected that to is, okay, when I'm 13 years old and a man is putting his hands on my mother and I walk up to him to try and defend my mother, he tosses me across the room like a cigarette butt because I'm so small. And just thinking at 13, like when I grow up, I'm never going to let somebody do that to me again, which then translates to me going to college and pumping a lot of iron, going from $185 to 225 my freshman year, and just being like, I'm about to get drafted by the NFL, to having an ego, that tough guy mentality, like I'm everybody's hero. Like there's no bullying me. You can't even bully around me. Like I can honestly say I've never really gone into this. When I was in college, I literally got into altercations that had nothing to do with me. Like they picked on somebody else who wasn't going to put up a fight. And I'm like, I like that person. You're not going to do that around me. You want to pick on somebody, pick on the person that's ready. So I translate that to being in 26. And in that moment, everyone needs a hero. Why can't it be you? My ego is the fragile, insecure young man who feels like, how do I identify myself as strong? How do I make sure that I protect? In that situation was the woman I love, which connected to my mother being the woman I love at age 13 and so on and so forth. So I can't say that I would take it back, because I think if I didn't experience that, I may have not been enlightened, for lack of better words, and have a different perspective and have a different outlook on life. But at the same time, I think it was a culmination of, especially being a Black man, how do I identify myself as a man? I'm supposed to protect, even if that means I'm crossing the boundaries of protecting just to overstate and overprove my strength.
Well, and I think it's harder for men of color than it is white boys. White boys can be that way, and it seems to be culturally accepted. You know, they're just, you know, they're the bad guys. Like it's almost a romantic version. But if a Black man were to come out and try to protect his woman or his mother or his family or his, and that's, I know that's probably not the direction you wanted to go today, but I think it's got to be very difficult as a child, because this is long term, thousands of years. You know, my mother's Cherokee Indian, and I get it. Like This is thousands of years of unsatisfied conversation. A lot of lip service, not a lot of doing. So it hasn't been satisfactory. And so prospectively, as a young Black man, that had to fuel you more because you knew that the risk was higher. Am I right? Or
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
So that
And
had to be extremely scary.
I mean, at the time, it's like there was no fear, though. That's the thing. And I think it's one of the riskiest things, but I think it just points to my age and the fact that I don't have any children. So I don't think the way a parent may think in a lot of situations. For me, the fear factor doesn't exist as much in those type of situations. And the irony of it is that, man, you're getting some exclusive. I mean, I I in a way spoke about situations like when somebody might pull a gun on me. And I said it out loud in the atmosphere, like if somebody pull a gun on me, I'm gonna dare them to shoot me. I'm gonna dare you. You cannot scare me. You cannot put fear in me because I understand from a spiritual aspect that I'm only supposed to be here for a certain amount of time. I fear no man. Doesn't matter how big you are. I'm not looking. I'm not looking to get into no altercations, but I'm not going to run from that situation. So I wouldn't even, for me personally, it wasn't even a fear factor, which I think also at the same time points to a bit of selfishness and ego, which I talk about in my book, because there's some people that, they probably would be heavily impacted if I was gone. So it's an interesting and challenging reflection.
Well, and it's still fresh. So my hopes coming from the spicy seasoned lady that you hear these words and you really keep chewing on that little nugget for the rest of your life so that you have perspective. Um, you're young, you're feisty, and that's great and that's wonderful. And I love how you're turning yourself into a productive member of society, using that energy in a different way to mold the malleable. But I don't want you to ever forget that moment. I know for me personally, when I had a gun held to my head, I still wake up in the middle of the night thinking it's there. So I don't hold on to the emotion, but I hold on to the memory of that feeling because yeah, I'm good with what's going to be. But I got a lot of work to do. There's so much work I need to do right now, right? So how can I be a better version of me? So do you have a copy of your book with you?
The sad thing is I
You didn't say
actually
one?
got rid of my last copy. I don't have any copies on me right now.
Okay.
But when you bring that up, it makes me think about my experience last summer. So in the aftermath of everything, when the COVID happened this year, like I said, for me, social distancing was nothing new. In the aftermath of that situation, I'm right-handed. My thumb was fractured. My pinky, which I did not get surgically fixed, was maxed. So my hand was wrapped pretty much the whole summer. So it was I was constantly reminded of that situation. I was paranoid. I was highly uncomfortable. If it wasn't revolving around progression from a business aspect, I want to know parts of it. I mean, there was times when I would go to my mom's house. I sit there for 15 minutes. I'm like, I gotta go. Like, I don't even want to be around people. Like, I felt so uncomfortable and really traumatized because all that was going through my mind was, did she set me up? Because she knows me. She knows him. She knows that I was going to be an aggressor in this type of situation. So it's like, it's dealing with the heartbreak of breakup of a situation that we're super invested in. And at the same time, it was uh, really just thinking to myself, like, I really could be gone. Like, I really could not be here. So for me, last summer it was a lot of isolation, and I won't even call it solitude. I would call it more isolation because I just felt alone. I felt just so heartbroken. So I could never forget that experience. But I can use that same memory and that same energy to ensure that with every person I come in contact with, I'm just trying to give them the best version of me and hope that the light that comes from above can be shown and they can see their light as well.
So on a brighter note, let's move forward.
I like how you did that.
All right. So what are you doing in Atlanta? You're not too far from me. My old buzzing around town. It's way too many people now. But back in the old days, it used to be kind of a little more country.
Mm. So in Atlanta, I'm really expanding the network. I'm super excited. I was just a part of a big project, it's a music video with Anthony Hamilton and one of his up and coming artists, and it's a pretty cool song because the message is about being tired. So it's really related to being tired of all the social injustices and how they're impacting. I don't even want to just say people that look at me. I just want to say humans in general. It just seems like we take turns in the history of our world of who is the group that we want to pick on. Now it seems like it's back to African Americans, Black people, however you want to phrase it. But I'm excited for that project. I'm producing a documentary right now, ironically, on healthy masculinity, based on a project that I was working on with Cornell University and the Department of Health in New York State. So that's really exciting to be working on. And thankfully, because everything is virtual, I'm able to finish my master's online. So those are the big three for me right now in Atlanta.
Big three. That's a lot. Good for you. High five. You got what it takes to get it done.
Thank you.
What's your master's in?
So it's actually in creative change leadership.
Ooh, snap, snap. I love it. And before we completely close off today, after we get off of air, don't let me forget there is a group in Trinidad who would be really interested in interviewing you. You're welcome.
Thank you.
That's what I do.
Thank you so much.
So what is the title of your book?
Everyone needs a hero. Why can't it be you?
And why can't it? What do you think? And we don't have a lot of time, so we can't do a deep dive, but what do you think makes a hero or a heroine?
Not what most people might associate with it. So a hero can be your kid after a super long day saying, "Hey mom, you don't look too well today. Can I have a hug?" It's a hero to you. A hero could be that person that when you needed to jump on the side of the road, pulled over, stopped their day, said, "Okay, your battery's broken," and they made sure you got to wherever you need to go as far as an auto shop. That's a hero. A hero is someone we see every single day that might be living next door to you. So to me, ultimately being a hero is connected to being the greatest version of yourself, which is ultimately connecting to serving others to the highest of your ability.
So there was a time not too long ago that I ran out of gas, and I just brought my daughter back from the hospital. She had a procedure. So she was a little doped up. She's young, a lot younger than you. So she's sitting in the seat and she's kind of stoned. And I ran out of gas, and I'm on a pretty major highway here in Florida, and I'm pushing my car. Hundreds of cars pass by me. A good 20 minutes, I'm pushing my car by myself. Stone kid, front seat, no gas, sunny day. And it really brought me to a humbling experience. And, you know, a lot of people would be like, oh, the world sucks, people who suck, blah, blah, blah. I don't think people suck. I just don't think people think. And so for me, I spend my life in servitude. I'm constantly helping. I'm constantly reaching out. Like this radio show and podcast, YouTube thing is all about connecting people with stories and humanity and that beautiful fabric that makes us a beautiful world. We see a lot of the ugly. We don't see a lot of what makes the world beautiful. And I'm pushing my Toyota Camry. Thank God it wasn't like an Explorer or something, right? And I'm going, why doesn't anybody stop? Why? Why do people not stop? That's a tough question.
It's deep. When you say people don't think, in my experience, I've learned that a lot of people, most on average, and I know I'm not supposed to make assumptions according to the four agreements, are running on autopilot. The day's already done before it starts. You get up, you take a specific route to wherever you're going to, you go to this exact store, you watch this at this exact time, you eat, like it's already set out. So there's not a lot of room for that change, for that innovation, which then also loses your humanity because we as humans are adaptable creatures. So when I think about a situation like that, I was really, really hoping you're going to tell me somebody stopped and pulled over and
Eventually,
helped you. Oh,
eventually,
okay, thank you. I'm
eventually.
like, please,
Yeah, no,
somebody,
eventually. This
please.
poor guy, he actually drove by slowly and he looked at his rearview mirror and he saw that, again, nobody stopped. So he circled around to come and help me, which was very sweet. And he was my hero. But hundreds, because it's a highway. And I just, how many times do we not stop and think? And I absolutely 100% agree with you. We're on rinse and repeat. We're on autopilot. We don't pay attention. We miss so much of life. Butterflies. Down here, I live in Jurassic Park. I've got more variety of reptiles than you can imagine. All of mine in the backyard have names, but I stop and think. And there's not a lot of individuals who realize what they're missing in life. And in regards to being a hero or a heroine, it doesn't take very much, does it?
I think that's the biggest message from my book and the title, which is really just a blueprint to help people unlock the greatest version of themselves, is that there are 7.8 billion people on our planet, but there's only one you. There's only one person with your mind, your vision, your soul. There's only one you. And in our country, what I've witnessed and when I study, sometimes it feels like people are so caught up in items, materials, status, whatever, for the lack of a better term. Now I'm gonna sound old. Trending.
Seasoned, remember?
Seasoned, right? Now I sound seasoned, whatever is trending. We get caught up so much in those what we have instead of who we are, that we miss out. Like how, I don't know. But then at the same time, if I saw somebody on the 85 in Atlanta, did I pull over to them? I did not. And I guess what it comes down to is, my biggest thing is we all play a role in the history of our world. Try to maximize that role with honor. So yeah, I wore this I Vote shirt and I voted and I made sure, and I want to share it with the world. It takes a lot more than voting though. It's going to take mental CPR with Sir Aime. It's going to take Everyone Needs a Hero, Why Can't It Be You? It's going to take a documentary on healthy masculinity and talking about how we as men can work as a unit to be in the moment. It's going to take everything, but it's going to take you having your podcast, YouTube, raising your daughter with the same values so that she's going to be a beautiful woman just like you. Like those different steps in our lives are presented to us all. And I think it just takes people truly believing in themselves to fulfill those roles.
Well, and coming from a literally dirt poor child, I would say that if I didn't have a few people plant seeds along the way, I really don't think I'd be here. I'd probably be in jail somewhere or some crack junkie or something. I mean, because I lived in the project, like special places. And I have I went to college and built a house and got married and blah, blah, blah. But in reflection, I honestly think that there is a larger need for people like us doing what we do, planting those seeds, than there are, and some people are going to take offense to it, but I think it's more powerful to be in our position than it is to be a football player. Unless you're a football player or what do they call them? Kardashians, those, that kind of thing. You're younger than me. You watch TV. I don't watch TV.
I don't watch TV either.
I had to look them up. I'm like, what is that? Okay.
I don't watch TV either.
But you know, if you're using your forum to have a voice that plants seeds of positive and change, then I think it's appropriate. And my hope is that with each and every video that I do, and each and every podcast that I do, and each and every book that I write, I'm planting seeds to have more people like you come along and show the younger generation, and even some of us old seasoned folks, that things can be better, and that you can do things a little differently, and that if you see a shopping cart hit somebody's car, move the shopping cart and bring it inside, and then, you know, and that's an act of kindness.
Little things, and then, like what you said, that is such a strong point, is planting seeds. And what I understand is that for most trees to reach the maximum amount of oxygen that they're going to bring on this planet, it may take 100 to 300 years. So each of us, if we all are just planting seeds, we may not, you know, my favorite book is The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. That book didn't catapult to what it was until 20, 30 years after it was already out. And now it's a household name that many people have referenced to part of their journey. It's like understanding the humility of your current existence and just appreciating that, you know, somebody else is going to be here at some point. And everything that we do, like my senior quote, I'm going all over the place. My senior quote in high school was, "For no one lives to himself and dies to himself." Trying to be an individual who appreciates that, and no, I'm not perfect. I'm going to make mistakes. I might cut somebody off. I might not turn my blinker on in the car, whatever the situation is. But knowing that we all have a capability to just try to at least be conscious about how we're interacting with others. And I think that's huge.
It's just, you know, I think in a lot of, especially right now, and we actually have to wrap up, but right now in this time period when these weird things are happening that are just mind boggling. I've never seen people be so vile. Sometimes it's just best to be quiet and okay, and walk away and just let that go and not absorb it. So, you know, Don Ruiz, Four Agreements, one of my favorites, he writes a lot about letting go and being an observer, not an absorber. And so when we get to a good place where we observe versus absorb, our reactionary process is a lot different because we come from a different understanding as to what's actually transpiring. But that's all for another show. You, young man, where do we find more information? How do we get your book and all that good stuff? Preach.
Alrighty. So all you have to do to get more information is text the word motivator in all caps to 21,000. Motivator in all caps to 21,000. You click that link, you'll be able to purchase the book, Everyone Needs a Hero, Why Can't It Be You? You'll also be able to download a free quote ebook, 80 quotes that have really helped me and continuously helped me on a shift up. And that's where you can find all my information, Instagram, LinkedIn, Calendly, everything is right there.
These young folks with their darn text things, and I'm still going AOL. Just kidding. I'm now Google, Gmail, whatever.
Gmail. It's great. It's great.
Getting there. All right. So you are a blessing, and I'm sure your mom's incredibly proud of you and your accomplishments and how you turned your life around.
Thank you so much. And I hope she's proud too. But like you said, there's a lot more work to do.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to wrap up. Don't hang up on your end because I want to send you that info. You're watching Living and Thriving with Rustie, and I'm Rustie, and we have 175 guests from all over the world that have something really cool about them. I don't bring them on the show if I don't think that they're worthy. And what? Come on, I vote. That was right in the gateway. He was in my heart. That was it. So whatever his text number is, because I have Alzheimer's and I don't remember, but I'll put it down in the subscription. Text it so you get his information. And if you get an opportunity to listen to his music, because I know he's going to eventually remember the seasoned lady and send me the music so that I can play it one day, check it out, because this is the generation that I know and love, and this is the generation that's going to be kicking ass, taking names when they hit 35 and up. They'll be nice and seasoned. That's the way it should be. Until then, know that you're loved, know that you're beautiful. 2 cookies, not 4. We've talked about this every week. Knock on your neighbor's door, make sure that they're still alive. It's COVID. Just kidding. Get them like a pancake or something. I don't know. Have fun with it. Go and play with your Nerf guns. If you don't have any, Nerf has got to sponsor me one day because they know how much I love them. Water balloon fight is a must every Sunday, and I'll see you next time. Take care.